What's up, bikers? Episode 185. Here we are. Man, almost to 200. That's crazy. Another like a million episodes, and it'll be like the same episode count as how much I weigh. Anyways, before we get started, let's talk about some show sponsors. Man, just a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember if it was on this show or on the Backpedal show, but one way or another, I was talking about how I'm getting this RE Delano Peak, and I was really questioning whether or not to get the blue one or the pink one. If you're thinking about getting a trail bike, this is a 150/130, and I'm super stoked to have a shorter travel bike again. It's been a little while since I have, and I definitely miss that better pedaling platform, but then still having the squish that is not going to beat up my 46-year-old back. So anyways, so this pink is going to look sick. I'm riding P321s hubs again this year, and they have these purple. I think that, man, look at that. The pink and the purple. Screaming out loud. It's like the 80s. I should probably get like a Pit Viper sponsorship just to go along with this. But better than Pit Viper is MTB is Tasco MTB. They have apparently this page right here is finally pops up. These Ridgeline gloves they just dropped is pretty loud. If you're listening, it is some very Pit Viper vibes, like super neon green and blue, and very, very loud. So if you're thinking about some new gloves, swing by Tasco, use code BIKER, save some money. Outside of that, I have recently did this reel on my Instagram and TikTok and all that. If you follow that, I was talking about this Invader. It's a Cali helmet that is like it's a full face, but it's like an XC full face. Basically, it couldn't get a DH rating because it had so much ventilation that there was too many holes in it, I guess, to get a DH rating. But the chin bar still passes the motorcycle test, and they released for May the 4th. They have these limited colors that are like Star Wars colors. It kind of looks like the Jedi or the the Rebel paint schemes that you see in the movies. And I don't know. For a Star Wars fan, this thing normally retails for $225, but if you use code B1 Cali 30, you save 30%. It's like over $60. So get yourself a rad full face. Honestly, this is the one I use most of the time. I don't even really use my DH helmet just because a lot of times I just would normally wear a half lid, but I'm just like, hey, something's a little sketchy today. Just don't want to bust my teeth out. And this is where this helmet comes in. So anyways, thinking about a helmet, use Cali. Also, that code only good one per email address. So sure you guys can figure that out. Anyways, let's go ahead and get this show started. We have MidLife Shredder on today. Man, I am like stumbling on my words. What's up, man?
How's it going, Robert? How you doing, man?
Good, man. Apparently, I like don't have enough like alcohol in my bloodstream or something. I can't fucking talk today. So,
I got my tea, so I'm ready to go. So
yeah, dude, I've been like working hard on losing weight, so I definitely haven't been drinking much. That's just my go-to excuse whenever I'm stumbling on my words, right?
Yeah. Well, I can easily relate to that, man, because my weight's a yo-yo, man. It's like I think about food and I gain weight, so it's a constant battle for me. It's always so.
I have this personality where I just really lean into whatever I'm doing. So if I'm getting fat, I'm leaning all the way in. If I'm getting skinny, I'm leaning in. So it's just ridiculous. I was looking at I have a Garmin scale, so it shows your weight loss over time and your weight gain, and basically the amount I've lost like 35 pounds since January, but the exact same slope is what I was doing from like September to December is like what I'm doing now, except for it was going up. It's like, this is ridiculous, man. So anyway,
oh man. Yeah.
So where are you located in the US, man?
So I'm just south of Nashville, Tennessee. So yeah.
Dude. It's Californians moving over there yet, or
it's the running joke here. Obviously, I can't tell you how many times, especially either during or right after COVID, that it was almost like a weekly occurrence. We'd run into someone on the trail, and it was because it was getting funny because people were starting to go as soon as you said, hey, they're like, hey, I just moved here like a month ago. We're like, oh, where'd you move from? And they're all like, California, and it's just like, I mean, as soon as they went and started searching, we're like, okay, we know where you're from.
That's hilarious. But definitely one of the few states that I would consider moving to from California. So
yeah. I mean, it seemed like it was either Texas, Tennessee, or Florida was kind of like the three main states people were exiting to. So, it's been crazy. I mean, the growth here is just, it's just insane. Yeah. And it was funny because like my wife and I, we have land further south that we were going to build on before COVID. And then COVID happened. I didn't work for, about almost like 3/4 of a year. And then of course, interest rates went up. So building supplies costs went up. So we didn't build, and then we were waited. And then when we finally couldn't do it, it's like, okay, now interest rates skyrocket. And we're just like, oh man, so we have land about, 45 minutes south of us. That's further away. It's more rural. It's about 5 acres. It's got a pond on it. And I'm just like, it'd be nice, but it's always something that is keeping us from actually, doing that, making that plunge. So,
well, if enough Californians move over there, your house price will go up enough.
It's true.
I don't even care about the interest anymore.
Well, it's funny because the neighbors behind us, they're from California. And so, but it's been really pretty cool. Like I haven't, I mean, with any kind of growing city, you're going to have issues. You're going to have, crazy drivers and stuff like that. And, but by and large, most of the people that I've met from California have not been, like extreme as far as like trying to like, make Tennessee, California, or anything like that. It's like they want to be there. They want to. I hear you. They want to get away. So
that's probably why they're choosing Tennessee. I'm not from California originally, so we can talk as much shit about California.
Well, I was going to ask where are you originally from?
I'm from Pennsylvania, so not too far north from you. Just like actually like right over the Mason-Dixon line there in York, PA.
Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. I've spent some time in Pennsylvania.
Right on, man.
Yeah, I used to be a touring musician, so there's only one state left in all the continental United States I haven't been to, and that's Hawaii. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. So it's my 50th state. It's the 50th one, and I'm turning 50 this year. So we'll see. We'll see if I get there.
If you go to Maui, there's a pretty cool little trail system there, and there's a bike shop you can rent bikes from, or if you don't want to like fly your own there, and so. I rode while I was there, and it was actually like it was a pretty cool little experience. I mean, it wasn't like it was like this is epic, but it was like, hey man, I'm in freaking Hawaii riding a bike. This is rad.
Yeah, it's the whole package. Like just to say that I'm in Hawaii and I'm riding a mountain bike. Yeah.
So definitely check it out if you're thinking about it. So
I had a buddy of mine just went there, and he it was literally like a couple months ago, and he was posting pictures, sending us pictures. And so I was like, dang, it looks amazing, So he ended up, he booked a whole tour with this guide, and everybody backed out except him. And so it ended up, the guy was like, hey, I'm going to take you on the stuff that I don't normally take everybody because it's a little bit too rough. So he got a pretty good experience that way.
What island was he on? Do you know?
I don't remember what island he said he was on, but it was this kind of same deal. Like he just rented a bike while he's there, booked a guide, and they just went crazy. But it looked amazing. So that'd be crazy. Yeah.
I did something similar in Jamaica too. That was pretty fun. You being back there on the East Coast, like it's so much easier for you to go to the Caribbean. I can understand why you haven't been to Hawaii because it's pretty expensive to get there. And
it's quite a trip. Yeah, I mean I've ridden in Guatemala, and it's only a 3-hour plane ride. So it takes just as long to get there as it does to like get into Utah. So so it's kind of accessible. That's one thing I do like about living here is like I can be at in different parts of the U.S., at least this side of the Mississippi, pretty quick, at least within a day and a half. But out west, as soon as you cross that Mississippi, it's like, man, there's so much land.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy,
many
right?
If you want to get to different places, like you gotta, it's at least a weekend or a few days, to get out there. So,
yeah, I mean, you can drive from the bottom of California to the top and still be like 15 hours. It's like it's just a ridiculous amount of driving. So,
it's sick. When I was a touring musician, we literally did a road trip from Nashville, and went straight to Oregon. Took us 3 days. And then we toured the whole West Coast, and everything was a day, at least a day's driving.
What were you doing? Like, what kind of music were you playing? What was the deal there?
It was Christian rock. We moved to Nashville, and originally from Tampa, Florida. But back in the late '90s, we got kind of noticed, and then moved to Nashville, and then like within a day we got signed. Or not a day, within a couple months we got signed, and then it was just like immediate. It's like we're hitting the road, we're going everywhere. Did that for years. It was a crazy. It seems weird now to talk about because it's just it seems like a different life now.
Yeah.
It's like I got kids now, they ask about it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what I did. I show them videos and stuff like that, and pictures, and it's like, oh wow, it just seems weird that I did all that. But yeah, touring is rough. I mean, you get to see a lot, but man, it's rough. It's a rough life. So
I'm sure it has its ups and its downs. It's better that you do those things when you're young, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, this is all in my 20s, so. But yeah, I mean, it's I mean, for that 1 hour you're on stage, you're like, okay, this made it all worth it. You forget about, not sleeping for 3 days and not eating well, and that you're tired and everything. It's fun to be in front of an audience and rock out, and then you do it all over again. You're back to the same stuff. But yeah, I don't regret it at all. But yeah, it's there's a reason why there's a lot of bands that don't really last very long, because it takes everything working right. It's almost like a bike, honestly. It's like everything needs to work right for that ride to be enjoyable. And that's the same thing with like a band making it. Like you got to have everybody working for you 110% for you to make it, And then
you got to get lucky on top of it.
And then you got to be good, and you got to, you've just got to hit the right moment. Because there's a lot of great bands that I think just they never got the recognition they deserve, and I don't know why, but they just didn't, And so, but yeah, it lasted. So we were together for 6 years before we got signed, and then we're only together for like a year and a half. The band broke up because it's just hard to hack it, and then I just stayed on the road as a touring musician for a couple more years. So. So I made a little money that way. I made more money as a touring musician than I did in my own band. So go figure.
Right.
So yeah. But so what made you go out to California?
It's funny that you asked that. I always tell people because I wanted to be a rock star.
Nice.
Yeah, originally I was in the military, and then I wanted to go and I wanted to work in the music industry. So it was like, okay, well, I play an instrument, I could sing, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to do this band thing, but if that doesn't work out, I want to make sure I work in the music industry. So I went to school for studio recording. Somehow or another, I ended up being in IT, so it didn't work out.
Well, you probably got paid a lot more. So
yeah. I think that's about whenever the decision making came to. It was like I got offered this job at a major studio, and it was like less money than I was making at Home Depot for my college job. And I was like, wait a minute here. You guys had Santana and Green Day there last week, and I'm going to make minimum wage. Like, I don't know about that. So yeah.
Oh man,
it's funny how things go. So what's the day job for you nowadays?
Okay, well, so normally I'm a film and video producer and director. But lately, I've been a stay-at-home dad. The economy has really hit our industry hard. So we're in a what's considered a secondary market, Nashville. We're not a primary market for production. So we kind of rely on a lot of productions to come into the state. Not a lot of stuff is birthed here. So, and I bridge my time between films and commercial work. So I kind of rely on the commercial work to kind of really make the money, because films don't really pay a lot, but they take the most amount of time. But that's what I love doing. I love developing and producing films. But commercial work, producing and directing commercials and short form content, branded content, that kind of stuff is really the money maker for me. But between the strikes and then just the economy, inflation has just, it's hit everybody, in not only in just our market here in Nashville, but I mean, it's industry wide. I talk to people in Atlanta, California, LA, Chicago, and everybody's like, yeah, we're hardly working, so it's been rough this year. And so my wife had to go back full time so we could make sure that bills are paid. And so, I've been a stay-at-home dad for the last month and a half. So
we started a YouTube channel. The dump truck loads of money are showing up.
Well, it's funny because it's like, well, let's see, I'm making a little pocket change. How can I build that up? And then it's like, well,
I can buy an icy, or
I can buy an extra coffee a month. So yeah, it's been weird. It's been really strange. It's like there's like things. It's almost like a game right now. It's like how long can we outlast this? Because there's things that are coming through the pipe, but it's just like nobody wants to pull the trigger. I was just having a talk with a governor's aide, or Tennessee governor's aide, just yesterday actually, and he's like, "Well, what's going on?" And I'm like, "You got me. I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but but yeah, it's just insane, about how crazy it is in the film and video world, and any creatives. Like, even I got photographer friends telling me they're not working much either. So I think anything creative,
the economy the way it is, that like that kind of stuff is like, I think it's similar to even what you're seeing in the bike industry right now. It's, people are a little more strapped for money, and so spending the money to like have somebody come take family pictures, or spending the money on another bike or whatever. It's like, man, I don't know. Like, I'm sure gas is a bit cheaper in Tennessee, but like for me right now, it's like $250 for me to fill up my gas tank in my truck. It's like, that's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's true. So I think it's across the board. I think nobody's really spending money, and on the commercial side of things, I mean, that's marketing money. When a brand hires me to do a commercial for them, I mean, that's their marketing budget. That's money's coming out of. Well, if nobody's buying their product or using their service, that's usually the first thing gets cut. They're not going to spend money because they need to keep the cash flow. So. So I think a lot of brands are just holding back right now. And honestly, I mean, this is just my guess, but I think it's because it's election year. I think other things are waiting, that people are trying to figure out, who's going to be in the White House, come to, in January of next year. So I think a lot of, that's another reason. And I think that's also true on the film side. Because I'm talking to a lot of people that put investment money into films, and it's the same thing. They don't know what's going to happen tax dollar wise. Are they going to pay more taxes next year? Are going to get tax breaks? For independent films, that's a huge thing for investors. Is what their taxes are going to look like? What are they going to be able to write off? What are they going to be able to use? Investment wise. So. So yeah, so my whole work, both on the commercial side and on the film side, I got basically double whammy right now. So
life is like that though, man. Every time that I feel like things are really tough and I'm like kind of in this valley, I always know that like I just came from a mountaintop and I'll be going to another one in a minute, and it's like You know, like there's times a year whenever it's, I don't know, it's like you get your bonus or something like that. You get the income tax money. And you're like just dropping money. Like you're like, I don't even care. 25% tip. Fuck it, man. You know, and you're like, yeah, you're on Amazon just clicking buy now on everything.
Yeah,
and then like,
I can use that. Yeah.
Right. Then like 3 months later, you're like, oh my God.
What did I just do?
Yeah. Maybe we should eat ramen for dinner, you know? Like, yeah. So.
Well, that's what it's like. So I was going to be working with another producer this year. We had agreed to a contract, and it was going to pay my whole year. It was going to be great. I didn't have to worry even on the commercial side of things. I wasn't even going to have to worry about taking a lot of commercial work, even though I could, but I didn't have to worry about it because we agreed on what I was going to make, salary wise for the whole year. That was going to be just my base. And I was like, great. So the holidays, I'm like sitting back, relaxed. We're like,
right.
Yeah, you want to buy that for the kids? Yeah, sure. No problem. Right. It was like not worried about spending money. And then come January is like, things weren't really lining up the way they're supposed to be. And yeah, that all got yanked out. So in February 1, I'm going crap. I'm left with, having to start all over again. So, but yeah. And yeah, but you're right. It's like, it's very much highs and lows, cause this year, I had a film come out, it's out on Amazon and Apple. And it was like, yeah, it's out. We shot it at the end of fall of 22 and spent all of last year, trying to get it released, and, it got picked up and distributed, and then they released it this year, March. It was back in March. And so it's like, great. Yeah, this is going to be great. And then, everything now it's like, you're just, okay, maybe I do need to, eat some ramen and
right.
skip lunches this week and, and all that stuff. So, yeah.
So when did you decide to start the YouTube channel?
So it's interesting because it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. I didn't really intend on really making it anything. Mm-hmm. I'm a COVID writer, like many people. When COVID hit and everything was shut down, I needed something to do. And so, my doctor was like, you got to start exercising if you're going to, get healthy. And so I always wanted a mountain bike since I came to Tennessee. I came to Tennessee in 1996. Yeah. I even bought a mountain bike in Florida to come ride up here. But because we got signed and hit the road, like that didn't happen. That bike just sat there. A brand new bike just sat and collected dust for years. So when COVID hit, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start mountain biking. And so I already had GoPros because I do a lot of documentary films too. And so I already had GoPros and stuff like that. I was like, I'm going to document this process. And so I started filming these rides mainly because I wanted to see how I'm doing. Like, what can I do better? Mm-hmm. And so, but I had all this footage and I said, well, I started meeting people here that were in the same boat as me, COVID riders or guys my age, because I was in my 40s. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna maybe there's an audience for this. I don't know. And so I kind of created the channel, called it MTB over 40, kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. Didn't really intend it for it to do anything. And I committed 7 videos. I created 7 videos and then, kind of released them, about once every few days, several days a week, in time, and just see what happened. I didn't know what they would do. And like within like several weeks, like I had 100 subscribers. I'm like, holy crap, 100 people want to watch this stuff.
Right.
So, and then
so at that point, were you weren't watching other people on YouTube as far as mountain bikers go? You were just kind of like, oh, I'm just going to give this a shot, or were you familiar that there was already a culture for it on YouTube?
I had limited exposure. The only exposure I had were people just talking about bikes, like the mechanical side of things, because I didn't know like what to get, like what am I going to get, what am I going to buy, what's going to be good. I mean, I literally spent probably about 2 months trying to decide what I can buy, and then found out that nothing's available. COVID had ate up everything. Unless you want to spend $5,000, I was like, I can't do that. I got 500. What can I do for that? And and so I got a cheap Walmart Schwinn bike, to start with. And so, yeah, I didn't realize how big it was.
Yeah.
I knew there was people out there. I think I'd looked at Seth Bike Hacks, and I think Brian from BKXC. I saw some of his videos, and then it was a lot of like Park Tool videos, and there was a couple other ones that I saw just talking about bikes. But I really didn't realize. But one thing I didn't see anybody like my age, like people in their midlife, talking about this stuff.
Yeah, algorithm was waiting for that. It was like, just wait till we hook him, then we'll show him everybody else out there doing it too.
Yeah. So that's kind of why I created it. And like I said, I didn't intend for it to get as big. I mean, not that it's huge; it's not huge at all. But I just didn't expect like it to turn into anything.
Yeah.
And then I started meeting people like on the trail. Like we go to Chattanooga a lot, we go to Knoxville a lot. And so I'd see people that are like, "Hey, you're MTV over 40." I'm like, "What?" And so, yeah, I was like, okay, maybe I should do something with this,
Yeah.
So yeah, I just started learning and figuring out. I was not intended to be a YouTube creator at all. I still don't really see myself as that. It's just, I have all the gear. I already have this stuff. I have lights. I have cameras. I have already all this stuff. I know how to edit. So it wasn't a big entry for me to get into it. It was just trying to learn out, what am I doing? Like, what is the story? And all I kept saying was like, this is a journey. You're coming along. I'm going to show you where I ride, what I learn. And if it's useful, great. But I never tout myself as an expert. I really, it's like, I'm not, I'm just someone just trying to figure all this out. So,
yeah. Do you feel like it's like so different than what you already do as far as like the editing style and things like that? Or was it like pretty much like, what was that difference for you?
Yeah, well, it was different because I realized commercials, I do lots of type of content. I mean, I do everything from, I work with ESPN during their features, which are usually like 4 or 5 minutes long. I usually don't do editing. Most of my work is just on the capture side. So I put the production together, I figure out the budget. I, find the crew, we get it done. We shoot it, usually hand it over to somebody and they do all the editing. I mean, I'll still be a part of it, but I usually don't do it. I just, I just make sure everything goes the way it needs to.
That's
happen.
Exactly how I want my YouTube channel to be. Here's my video.
Yeah. But so I know how to edit. I just didn't realize I had to figure out how does the YouTube. I mean, I know everybody talks about YouTube algorithm, but the way audiences are going to respond to this is going to be different than what I usually produce. And so I really had to figure that out. I really had to figure out, because sometimes I do videos. Sometimes I'm just I jump right into it. Other times I do videos where I do a quick little 20, 30 second, here's a smashing of all the footage you're going to see, with some music, and then talk about, it's like, I don't know. It's like, I'm still trying to figure all this out, and I'm still trying to figure it out. There's some videos I'm have gone really well that I didn't expect. And then there's other videos I was like, this is going to do really well. I think people are going to be really excited about this video, and it does nothing, so, so I'm just like,
welcome to YouTube.
Yeah. It's like, and I talked to other creators and they're just like, yeah, it's really that way, and I'm not one to just put out content. Like, I have to be purposeful. So there's long spans of time where I don't do anything. Just because I record a lot, but I'll sit there with it. I'll put it together. I'm like, this is crap. This is not what I want to put out. So I've had, I can't tell you how many videos I've done where I'm just like, I'm not putting this out. I can't, I don't want to do this. This is not what I want to say, or because it's either just fluff or it's boring, or it's like, I don't really have anything to say in this video. So why put it out there?
Yeah. That footage is good to have though. There's been a lot of videos that I've done the same thing. I do like the rough cut and I put it on Patreon, and then I'm trying to make a story out of it, and I'm like, I'm not feeling this. Like I just let it go, But having that footage though, at this point now, because I've been doing my channel for a long time.
Yeah.
Probably more time than I am good at doing math. Sit here and try to figure out how many years it was. But anyways, it's like, it's really nice to be able to use that. Like right now I'm doing a Sedona video, and I have, 6 or so years of trips that I've taken to Sedona that I can just cherry pick through the footage to like, hey, I don't need B-roll because I have it.
Like, for sure. Yeah.
So it's like, what drone shots do I need? Okay, I can throw some in from this trip and some from this trip, and it'll work out. So.
Oh yeah, I keep everything. I mean, I never delete anything. And sometimes I'll just use it for like Instagram clips or something like that. I'll do that, but I just don't turn it into a actual YouTube episode. I'll just, because there's been times where I've done like camera reviews or testing and stuff like that, and I've, it's cool to me, but I'm just like, this is going to be boring. This is like this. I'm just like, then there's already a ton of that stuff. Like, and even though I know, like, some people say, well, it doesn't really matter if other people do it. It's what you do. It's coming from your voice and your channel, and that's what will make it different. And I get that for sure. But I guess maybe I haven't been able to get to the point where it's like I care too much. It's like my producer brain and my directing brain clicks in, and it's just like, if I don't want to watch this, I don't want to put it out. And so
I'll tell you, it's a slippery slope to be standing on though, because like I've definitely had videos where I gave up on, and for some reason I went back and finished the edit and put it out, and those were the ones that like shocked me. Where I was like, nobody's going to want to watch this. This is stupid. It's really just me and my friend going on a ride, and nothing really happened. But it's like, I don't know, for whatever reason it hits, and it's like, So don't always trust that little voice inside your head. I guess that's what I'm trying to say,
Well, I mean, my most popular video was like that. Like, I saw I think, is it Ryan from the Lone Wolf? Is that his name, Ryan?
Yeah.
Ryan.
Are you saying Lone Wolf or Lone Ranger?
Oh, sorry, the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, that's Ryan. Yeah.
That's Ryan. Okay. Yeah, Drew is the Lone Wolf. Ryan from the Lone Ranger did this, the jumping video where he says, stand up to the jump. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm going to put that to the test. And I was actually intending for that just to be like an Instagram reel.
Yeah.
And so I recorded it, and my buddy, Jason, who I ride with a lot, he brought his drone out, and we just started capturing us, and I was like, I'm going to try this. I want you to film me, and I need you to, like, I really want to learn this, and we're going to capture all this. And I'm going to put it into a reel. And we did it. And then I got it into the edit, and I just said, yeah, actually, that's quite a good stuff. Maybe I should show the process of me learning it. And so I did that, and it's one of the shortest videos I've ever done. It's like a little over 8 minutes, but I put it out there, and I remember I was on set doing a film, and my buddy Jason says, dude, have you seen your video? It's like blowing up. And I'm like, what? And so I looked at it, and it's like, it did nothing for like a week or two, a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden I'm on set, and I'm looking at it, it's like now I got 30,000 views, and then I check it an hour later. Now it's got 40,000 views, and it's like, what is going on? And it's just like, it literally like within days blew up to over 100,000 views.
That's awesome.
And I have no idea. And I was like, why? What was this about? I guess it was just, I don't know. I still don't know to this day, like, why does that video do so well? And all I'm doing is just learning. I'm just taking, maybe it's because I took his idea and I'm just applying it, and people want to see that. I don't know.
I think that's what it is. There's a name for like using somebody else's like success to like make your video good. I can't think of what it's called. Not that you did that like on purpose, but like they actually have a name for that, like when that happens. And some people do that intentionally. So they're like, hey, put Mr. Beast in your thumbnail because it's like fame something. I forget what they call it. Anyways, maybe somebody in the comments will say it. I don't know. But anyways, I think that's really well. First of all, let me back up. That is actually the first video of yours that I saw. So, so that's the way that, and I can tell you I can break things down, you know, from a creator's perspective or also from a user's perspective, because I watch a lot of YouTube. And even though I am a creator, I understand that experience. And for me, it was exactly what you said. I've seen Lone Ranger's video. And when I saw it, I was like, well, I wonder, does it really work that well? You know, like the way that he explained it, this guy is going to try what he explained. Yeah. From me, like just looking at the thumbnail, I already assumed that you like knew how to jump, but it was like, oh, I'm just going to try his method and see what happens. Right. And that was intriguing. It was intriguing to see. And I know like Ryan's videos usually do very well. His real jump one probably has 1 million views on it. You know what I mean? So you have anybody else that's seen that videos, it's pretty easy to make that leap to be like, hey, I wonder if it does work, you know, if that's not your technique, you know?
No, and that was the thing. It's like, I never, you know, I was still learning. Like I was 2 years into my writing. And even though I had done other jump videos, I was still nervous and I wasn't confident in my technique. And so what I wanted to do was I was like, okay, here's a technique. Someone really explained it very well. And I'm going to apply that and see if it works for me. And that's really all it was. Yeah. And the sucky thing is like, I didn't get enough footage of me actually doing it, off-bike footage of me actually doing it. Like a lot of people said, well, you're still squashing it. I was like, yeah, but that's because I don't show when I'm actually clearing it that I'm actually doing it, you know? Yeah. And I'm not fully standing up as much as he was. I mean, keep in mind that I'm not that confident. But I wanted to show at least that I have that in my mind and I'm applying these principles. And I'm not going to get it perfect within 2 hours of trying this. It's going to be something I have to keep doing over and over. And I'm still doing it to this day. I'm still trying to keep all that stuff in mind because I don't jump every day. I don't even jump, you know, every other day. You know, it's like I do this, you know, once a week if at best. So you know, and you know, my brain tells me I shouldn't do this. So I'm fighting all this, you know. I'm just learning this stuff a couple years ago. So that's the thing I gleaned from it was that I guess people want to see if it really works, you know, and that was the attention. And I got a lot of great feedback. A lot of people, you know, they were like, man, I was afraid to do this and so glad you did it. And it's cool to see you trying this, you know? So, and then I've got other videos where it's just, I'm in different places or I'm writing different places or I'm talking about different things. I'm like, well, why does that place, you know, those videos do well and I'm doing almost similar things, but it's just a different place and it doesn't do well. Like my Windrock video didn't do squat, you know, but my Bentonville stuff goes crazy. So, you know, I'm just like, okay. I just, you know, it's just one of those things, you know, and I talk about another video that did well. It's just me talking about magnetic pedals. And I'm like, okay, that one had, you know, over 10,000 views. You know, cause I never get, you know, if I get over, you know, 10, 20, 30,000 views, then that's pretty good. Most of my videos are like several hundred to a couple thousand and that's it, you know? So that's kind of average, but it's just me. It's kind of obvious. Like, I'm not only still learning how to all the mountain bike stuff, but I'm also still learning how all this, you know, YouTube stuff works. And I don't know. I don't really take it too seriously. I'm just having fun with it. I have plans of where I want to take it. I'm just waiting for the right time. And I've kind of hinted at it before, but it's, I have in my mind what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that timing of figuring out, okay, how do I make this next leap?
Yeah.
So that's been a challenge, and hopefully that's going to be soon. Other things are impeding that, mainly finances. So, but yeah, it's fun and I enjoy it. It's not only just something that I create, but also it's my therapy. I get out and ride. There's a lot of times I ride. I don't record anything, just because I just want to be in the moment. I don't want to be beholden to the camera. So sometimes I just ride and just enjoy for what it is.
You've come a long way though for a short amount of time. I mean, I'm watching you do some like pretty big jumps and hucks and in the Bentonville videos that I watched. And I mean, it's stuff that I wouldn't commit to. And so, I mean, you're definitely you've for a person that's only been riding for a couple of years, you definitely have, in my opinion, like committed to a lot of like pretty scary shit, man.
Thanks. It is scary every time.
Yeah. How do you do that? What's your process to like overcome the fear?
Funny. That's one of my videos. It's very calculated, very measured. Some of it is just like, do I want to do this? There's certain features that I've looked at and I'm just like, I don't know if I really want to do this. Like, do I need to do it? Do I want to do it? Other times I'm like, I really want to do this. I really want to conquer this feature or this trail. And other times it's just riding with people that are better than myself and just following them. I trust them. If I match their speed, I try to match their technique, and do stuff that way. That I won't say that that's most of how I do it, but I mean, it's a combination of all those things. Like Drop the Hammer in Bentonville was something I knew I really wanted to do. I was there 2 years before then, saw it. I didn't do it mainly because I was about to start a big project and I could not get injured. Like I absolutely could not get injured. And so I just didn't want to risk it. But when I got there, when we did it last year, first of all, they redid the landing. So it was like way wider, they smoothed everything out. And I'd seen people at the festival that previous year, or earlier that year that was my skill level and they were doing it. So I was like, okay, I got it. I got to do this. So yeah, and I just asked people like, hey, can you just tow me in? Cause I was watching people do it left and right, and I was like, I think I can do this. I know I can do this. And so I said, hey, I grabbed somebody, these two guys. I said, hey, can you tow me in? And they were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So
as long as you can keep that like that freaking monkey brain of yours to like not pull the brakes, it's usually pretty easy. That stuff, like the way it's built. Like I can't tell you how many times that I've been riding somewhere not home, like in another state or something like that, and I'm riding with some dude, and all of a sudden it's like some big huge drop comes like out of nowhere, and we're just sending it, and I'm like, oh my god, I just did that, but I had zero time to chicken out because I didn't even know it was there. And it's like, and every time I handle it just fine. But if I still like know that that's there, like turn around, just landed it, turn around, go back and look at it, I'm like, fuck that, I ain't doing that.
Because you're thinking about it. You think too much about it.
I think especially after you, like for me, I think it's like when I got to somewhere along the line, I had a major injury. And after I had that major injury, that's the thought that's always in my mind is like, do I want to spend 6 months of not being able to ride bike because of this feature? Like, would I rather ride boring XC trails for the next 6 months or like no bike at all? You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing that's always coming through my mind. It's really taken me a long time to kind of get back to a spot where I'm not as like a little less fearful, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Injuries really set you back, especially, you know, in our age. Like it's like, it does set you back quite a bit. You know, I've had some pretty bad wrecks. I have some muscle contusions, some sprains. And it does, like, it plays with your head, especially the older you get. Like you're kind of like, you get really apprehensive. And for me, and I'm sure like a lot of guys that I know in my age, a lot of midlifers, I mean, it takes them longer to build that confidence back up.
Yeah.
And you have to do it over and over and over before you get comfortable. And it's, you know, I still don't understand it. I think you know, I just did a jumping session with Rich Drew, and it made sense the way he explained it. Mm-hmm. He's like, you know, if you start mountain biking, you start jumping a bike when you're young, like it becomes a natural thing. But the older you get, your brain is trying to protect you from things because you're more aware. Mm-hmm. You know, and so when you start jumping a bike, your brain is telling you, you shouldn't be doing this. This is not a good thing, because you know what could happen. And so all that stuff plays in your head. So every time you hit a feature, like your mind is telling you, no, what are you doing? You know, you have access to brakes. Why aren't you using them?
Yeah,
you know? So it's like, so you're constantly fighting that in your head. And I do. And I have to use those outside forces, like riding with someone that's better than me. Like, I really want to do this. This plays into, or I know I can do this. Those types of things. Those are the things that are really going to get you kind of, for a lack of a better term, push you over the edge. Because like when I did Windrock for the first time, I couldn't believe I didn't do the most advanced stuff, but even Blue Trails at Windrock is like black or double black everywhere else. So we just pretty much stayed to the blue rated trails. I think we did one black trail, but I mean, like, I'm heading down this stuff only because I'm following somebody that is around my skill level. And so I'm just putting my bike where his bike goes. That's all I'm doing. And we get to the bottom, like, I can't believe I just did that. So, you know, but if I had been there by myself, no way I would have done that. You know, Windrock is steep and crazy. And,
I'd like to ride there. That seems pretty fun. That's where Bobo films a lot, right?
No, he's in North Carolina. He films at Canoga a lot. Yeah, that's a rad place too.
What's the Windrock one? I know I've seen that on a bunch of people's videos.
Yeah, Windrock is what Aaron Gwynn just bought. So he just bought Windrock. It's basically where everybody in the East, where they come to, all the downhillers go to train.
What city is it?
All the downhillers. It's in oh gosh, I know the name of it. It's between Nashville and Knoxville. It's on the northern part of the state. What's it called? Something Springs.
Okay.
Oliver Springs or something like that. I can't believe I don't know the name of it. I know the name of it.
I've probably seen like some Semi-Sendy videos or something like that up there. Then he rides.
Yeah, Semi hits. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff there. Yeah, Rich has done a lot of stuff there. And now Gwen, almost all his stuff is down there because he owns it now. And they're about to have a big mountain enduro there next weekend. So it's a rad place. And ironically, I haven't been back since. I need to get back, and it's a goal to go back this summer. Because I definitely want to do more. They've updated it. They're going to add to it. They're going to add a whole nother system to another side of the mountain. So that's going to be pretty cool. So they're going to make it more accessible. Because right now, like, there's 3 little green trails that are halfway up the mountain, and that's it. Everything else is at either midway or at the very top. And it's like I said, the blue there is like black most other places. So, and it's pretty advanced. You've got to be able to you've got to trust your bike. You've got to be able to be comfortable riding over a lot of technical rock, and it's steep. You got to get used to the steep. It's video doesn't do it justice. Like it's pretty
that's
crazy.
The way it goes. I mean, I know some of the stuff that I ride. It took me a while to get used to doing steep. And there's some areas like Santa Cruz that have a lot of really steep stuff, and you get there and you're like, oh my god, I thought I was riding steep before. This is like a wall, you know.
Yeah.
And, it's definitely a different level of like commitment, because you're just like, once you point, like you're not pulling the brakes. The brakes are not going to help.
No,
you know, if anything, if you pull the brakes wrong, that's going to make it worse. You know,
not when you're 200 plus pounds. You know, it's like exactly. You can have 220 rotors all you want, but it's not going to matter all that much. So yeah.
So do you go to Bentonville every year for the festival?
No, actually, I've only been twice. I went in 21. I went to the festival in 21, and then I went last year. I went in the fall.
I'm getting ready to go for my first time. What would your advice be to me?
Oh man, I love the festival. But I tell you what, when we went in the fall, like we got a lot more riding in, because the festival, you're just like hanging out with everybody and doing all the events, which is great. You know, that's what you're there for. But I also want to ride as much as I can, because it's an 8.5 hour drive for us to get there.
Yeah,
so it's crazy. Yeah. So, yeah, man, they keep adding so much stuff. You definitely want to go to Kohler. I mean, that's kind of like, it's where everybody goes. It's got so much there. Kohler Mountain Bike Preserve, because there's so many trails that just, once you get up to the hub, there's so many things that spawn off of it. And you'll definitely want to go to the castle. The castle's fun. There's several
like rideable from like where the fest is, or do you have to like drive to those places?
No. I mean, everything. The castle is a little bit further, but you can still ride to it. And there's like stuff along the way. So if you want to hit some stuff along the way to different places, that's what's cool about it. Like, Kohler we typically would drive to. You can ride to it, but there's parking all over Kohler, so it's easier just to go over there and park. And then, because you can spend a whole day at Kohler easily.
Okay.
And there's stuff like in and around that. So you could do Kohler and then do some other things. But Slaughter Pen, which is another area, that's where like Mad Hatter is. That's where Schrain Train. I got to get this right, because if someone commented on my video, it's spelled Schroen, Schroen train. And I've been calling it Schroen Train because that's the way it's spelled.
Yeah, it looks like it to me.
Schroen. But someone said, no, it's Schrain Train. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm going to say it correctly now. Schrain Train. Schrain Train's over in Slaughter Pen. And there's tons of stuff over there. And then there's Castle. The Castle is just one kind of set of trails that spawns off of one hub. A lot of fun. They're short and they're all sessionable, so you can like easily just get right back up and do. You can do them 2, 3, 4 times over and do them all. And you're just like, okay, that's not even half a day. So
everything there has like, it doesn't have a lot of elevation gain and loss, right? So it's like pretty like quick downs and then.
Yeah, Kohler has a little bit more elevation than everywhere else. So Kohler has a little bit more, but yeah, it's not crazy high, and they've really did a great job of using the elevation change to. I mean, it's just, the thing is that what makes it so well is that everything is just so well built. Like even the castle, like you're going to drop, only 100 feet or not even 100 feet in about a half a mile. But if you can't maintain so much speed. It's just the way they designed it and the way they build the trails. They use every bit of elevation to your advantage. They give you those little rollers to boost up speeds. You come in high on the berm and you leave down low. It's like everything is maximized so well anywhere in and around Bentonville. It's like they know how to maximize the elevation there. And that's what's so attractive. Like you just don't find that anywhere else. Like we have a lot of trails here in Tennessee, and there's a lot of really good stuff with a lot of elevation. But it takes a builder that knows how. I mean, obviously money, it's Walmart money.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, they're not going to spare any expense. So that, but it just goes to show what a well-built trail system will do. Yeah. And how much fun you can have, even on green trails, like even on the green stuff. Like you're just cruising along and you're just like, man, you're just maintaining speed, pumping, and you're just flying. And you're just like, where's this coming from? Is
there one trail that comes to mind whenever somebody says Bentonville? That's like the one you're like, man, I really like that one.
Gosh, there's so many. I mean, you definitely do want to do Fireline. Mm-hmm. Fireline at Kohler is, I won't say it's like my favorite, but I mean, when you say like, what do you definitely have to do when you go to Kohler or when you go to Bentonville, you got to do Fireline. It's a pretty long trail, but it's all flow. It's a flowy, it's a jump flow trail. So much fun. And whether you're good at jumping or not, like you just have I took my son last fall and we were doing some of the black trails, but that he didn't want to do. So while we were doing those, he just kept hitting Fireline, and he's not the best at jumping. Mm-hmm. But he just wanted to do it over and over and over.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter whether you're good at jumping or not. You just want to do it over. It's just so fun. It's just well built. Yeah. Such a fun trail. Yeah. And the climb trail's paved. So it's like, you just come back up and hit it again, and so
sometimes the trails that are like that really stand out don't necessarily have to be like the most technical or the most insane. No. Like, there's some little segments of my local riding area that I always tell people like, this is one of my favorite spots, and they're like, really, this? And I was like, it just like flows so well, and like those trails where you feel like it's really active, where you're like just pushing the bike this way or that way, and you just you're like, you feel like you're in a video, like you're like, wow, this is like really like a game or something. It's like really fun.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that you ride for. You know what I mean? It's like that's like what you're looking for, is that like that enjoyment, right? Enjoyment.
And and the thing is, like, no matter what because some people are more privy to downhill tech. Some people are like the smooth flow jump trails. What's great about Bentonville is like, it doesn't matter what you like. You're going to find stuff that you're going to really enjoy. Mm-hmm. Like there are trails that are just downhill tech. It's a lot of techie, but it's just a lot of fun. You can really get in what you like. If you want the nice, smooth, flowy stuff, there's that. If you like the raw, natural, hand cut, downhill tech kind of stuff, there's that. You go to hand cut hollow, and you'll just have a blast if you like that loose, hand cut, you want that raw type of feeling, but still have hand cut hollow. So that's a little bit of a drive. That one you might want to drive to. You can ride to it. We rode to it, but we were on e-bikes.
Yeah.
But if you want to drive to it, that's kind of if you kind of look at Bentonville proper, like we're Slaughter Pen, the Castle, Kohler, all that it's kind of in the northeastern section of all of that.
When you were explaining that on I think it was your like top 5 video that you did.
I
was watching. I was like, this sounds like the kind of riding that I really like. The kind of like janky, like cut, little loose and unexpected. I'm not really crazy about flow and jumps. I mean, I'll ride it. Like, don't get me wrong, it's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's riding bike. But like, I definitely like lean more towards the technical and the rocky stuff. At least for like things that get me excited.
Yeah, well, then you'll love it. The only reason I didn't include any of that stuff like in my top 5 is because I only rode all those trails once. We were in such a rush. We actually got there by mistake. Like, I thought we were going to the castle, and we ended up in Hand Cut Hollow. And so I got us lost. And so I was like, well, we're here, but we're meeting up with somebody. And so I said, let's just run everything once and let's get back. So we rode everything once, and I filmed it all, but it was just they were all single, like one runs. So we had to leave. And so, yeah, I really loved Interplanet Janet. A lot of stuff. My Hero Zero, that's a fun one. I mean, that stuff is a lot of fun. And if you like the raw hand cut stuff, you'll love going to Huntley. Huntley's in Bella Vista, which is a little bit north of everything. And it's not a lot of trails. You're kind of getting into the back 40 area, kind of. If you hear about people talking about the back 40 trails, this is kind of up there near it. But these trails are all session. You can session all these trails. It's not long miles, but they have one. Gosh, what's the name of it? I can't remember the name of it right hand, but it's a lot. It's like that. It's a little bit flowy, but it's very loose and it's got the rock technical. So it's got some jumps, but it's also got some of that tech and looseness into it. So that's a lot.
What was that? Changing gears a little bit. What was the experience like having a Schwinn from Walmart and learning how to ride mountain bike? What was that like?
So it's funny because there were no bikes here in Nashville. I even called down to Chattanooga. There was none. And I watched this video. This guy was saying, look, if you only have $500 to spend, get this Schwinn 1x. It's a 1x9 or something like that.
It's a hardtail.
It was a hardtail. They said it's not bad. It's worth the money, for what you get. And I called everywhere, all these Walmarts, and nobody had them. Then somebody on Facebook Marketplace put one up on Marketplace, but she was in Indianapolis, which is about almost 5 hours away from us. So I messaged her. I said, I want this bike. Don't sell it because it's going to take me about 5 hours to get there. And she says, okay, I'll hold it for you. I text my wife. I said, I'm going to Indianapolis. I'll be back tonight. And so she's like, what? I said, this is the only one I can find. This is the only one of these bikes I can find. And it's even cheaper than if I bought it new. So yeah, I got up there. She had it, grabbed it, bring it back. And I rode that thing. It was a piece of crap, obviously knowing now. It was a piece of crap. But I tell you what, it's the thing that got me excited because I didn't know. I didn't know if I was going to like mountain biking.
Right. So you didn't want to spend a bunch of money. I can totally understand. I mean, I think that there's a good need for those bikes. And I think that there's a lot of people that look down on them or whatever, but it's like, look at you now. Yeah. You're creating mountain bike YouTube videos and like you have more than one bike and like, so it did something,
Yeah. Yeah, it did something. And I didn't realize at a time like this was the way it feels. But within about 2 months, actually probably less than that, probably about 6 weeks of riding it, literally because it was COVID shut down. I wasn't working. Like I was riding at least, weather permitting, at least 3 to 4 days a week. Just trying to learn, try to build up stamina. It was like, I did 1 mile and I thought I was going to die the first time I rode. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even get through this one green trail and I'm already like keeled over. But I just kept doing it. And then I got a buddy, my buddy Jason, who's in a lot of my videos. We ride together a lot. I got him into it, and he started riding, and so we started riding together. And then,
how long were you on that bike until you finally were like, I think I've outgrown this thing?
Yeah, about 6 weeks. About 6 weeks. I was like, dude, my body can't take this. Like I'm 46 years old, and I can't. This
but
is
you
not
knew you
work.
liked it enough that at that point you were willing to spend some money. So where did you go from there?
Yeah. So the first thing I got was the Fazaria Bajo Peak. That was like,
it was like, bike is that like, that's
that was like their kind of, it's a mid-travel full suspension. It wasn't their cheapest full suspension. It was kind of like their mid-grade aluminum bike. It was like $2,000. And so I was like, okay, I can spend that much. So got it in like 4 weeks, which was actually pretty quick at the time. Yeah. And I thought I won the lottery. I was like, this is, night and day difference, having suspension, good, decent suspension. What was
the buying experience like for you with them?
Great. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like there was like 3 bikes I was deciding because all the local bike shops, I love my local bike shops, but everything was at least 5,000 during COVID. Like I could not spend that kind of money. So, buying direct was like really the only option. And there were the three bikes I was looking at was the YT Jeff C, the Fazzaria Bajo Peak, and one of the Common Sols. I can't remember which model. It was maybe the not AM. But they're all around that $2,000 mark. And so the YT, when I was ready to pull the trigger, the YT, they even took it off the website. There's like, you can't even pre-order it.
You got lucky because right around that time I bought a DJ from them, and it took like 9 months for me to get it. Like, and they were like zero freaking communication. It took me like, it's like 3 or 4 months. I was like, so are you guys gonna like give me this bike or like what's going on here? And they're like, yeah, that was
no, I called. It was either between the Abajo or the Common Sol. And I think what sold me was that Fazzaria was here in the States. And I know Common Sol has a US distribution, but I knew they were a German company. So I was like, well, I think I'd rather just deal with an American company because I'm buying direct. Yeah. If something goes wrong, I just love their policy, like 30 days, love it or return it. Yeah. And they fully kind of customize based on your measurements, your sizing. And I knew, I was like, I kind of need that because I'm kind of a weird body shape. Like I've got short arms and long legs, so I need them to tune this bike to really these measurements.
Yeah. And at that point you have 6 weeks of experience. So it's not like you like totally know like what you like and don't like. You don't really have much for opinion at that point.
Yeah. Cause I don't know about, you can get longer stems, shorter stems. You can get high rise bars, lower rise bars. I didn't know, you could move your saddle back and forth. It's like all those things. I don't know about that to kind of fine tune those things. I didn't know about all that. This was the first time I've ordered a bike, so, but yeah, it was a great experience. Talked to them. They were great. It was supposed to take like 6 to 8 weeks. After the first week, they called me and says, "Hey, we can get this to you in 4." And I'm like, okay, so, so, and yeah, I've been with them ever since. Joined the ambassador program, and
so how long did you ride that bike?
I had that one. So I had that one, and then I bought the LaSalle, and I intended to keep both bikes. So I still had the Abajo up until like right after I bought my wire. So I was at the end of 21. So I had that bike for about almost 2 years.
What made you go to such a long travel bike then from that? So you just realized that the short travel just wasn't enough, or you started getting into like more crazy stuff, or?
Yeah, I started doing a lot more aggressive stuff, and I was bottoming out, and I kept putting more air pressure. At the time, I had X-Fusion suspension, and X-Fusion, you can't put in tokens or anything like that. And so a buddy of mine who was a bike mechanic, he was like, look, if you're going to start doing more aggressive stuff, because I was actually doing races, riding at Oak Mountain and doing all these, these black trails and stuff, all this downhill tech, hard hits. He's like, dude, for your size and your weight, if you're going to be doing a lot of this, you might want to step up to a more of a longer travel bike. So he says, instead of upgrading the suspension just to the same size, you might as well get a bike that can handle longer travel.
At this point, your wife was like, wait, I thought we were in for like a $500 bike. Now this is the third one?
She's like, well, so you're going to buy a second bike? What do you need a second bike for? So yeah, finding ways to justify that was a little hard. So yeah, so I bought the LaSalle. Actually, I bought the LaSalle frame, and then I kind of customized that bike setup. And then, yeah, I went from that to a 170, 150. And so, because the Bajo was a 150, 135. So that gave me a little bit more room. Loved it. I started going to Baker. I took that bike to Winrock. I took that bike to Guatemala. I took that bike to Utah. So yeah.
So what was that like? Were you traveling for work or something like that, and you were bringing the bikes along, or you actually were like going on mountain bike trips at that point?
Yeah, I was actually doing mountain bike trips.
So mountain biking is really like taking you a lot of places that you weren't expecting.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. The only familiar place I went was Guatemala, only because I'd been there so many times. But when we went in the 22, uh, I wanted to try, okay, I've been here many times, but now I'm finding out there's mountain biking, and really nobody had really known that. Um, so, and that was part of actually a bigger plan, a bigger project I was kind of planning on, but I wanted to go and ride there first and see what it was going to be like. So planned a trip, took some friends, we went down there, amazing time. And yeah, filmed it, and it was just, I love riding down there. I can't wait to get back there too. But yeah,
that sounds fun. Kind of like in the jungle then, huh?
Well, it's very diverse. Like there's definitely some jungle areas. Like Guatemala it can be dry and arid in one part, and then 30 miles away it's humid and jungle. It's like you never know what you're going to get, really. Yeah. It's so diverse, and that's what makes it so unique. And now it's exploded. Now they're having downhill races there. They're putting in bike parks. It's really exploded as a destination place. So it's really cool to see that happening for that area. And there's so many other places that I want to go. But I can't, it takes money.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you there. So you can find just in the conversation that we're having, I mean, it's like, man, yeah, I'd love to come ride Windrock. I'd love to ride some more in Asheville, like where Seth's at. Like, what's that?
Yeah.
Big there's something with the P is like the big like park over there. It's like a big national
Pisgah.
Yeah, I'd love to ride there. That place looks sick. And so, but like you said, man, it's money. It's like, and it's like, how many places can you go in a year? It's like you can't, I mean, unless I sell my house or something like that. Like this year I went to Sedona and I'm going to Bentonville. And then I have a Whistler trip, and it's like, okay, well, that's like way more money and way more vacation time than I've spent in any year on mountain biking. So it's like, that's a lot, and it's, I mean, someday maybe just like I said, the dump truck loads of money will come in from YouTube. But until then, just buying like, a water bottle with whatever revenue I'm making.
Because I mean, that's the thing is like, my work when I'm working quite a bit, it's a lucrative industry, and so that has usually afforded me to be able to do this kind of stuff. But yeah, when you're not working as much, and you kind of have to wait a minute, we got to pull the brakes on all this stuff. That's the first thing it goes. Like I can't do the big trips. I can't do, be all these upgrades to the bikes and all that stuff. And, the YouTube channel by definitely doesn't compensate for how much money I spend every year on this stuff. So,
I know that every year when I do my taxes, and that tax guy's like, so you're calling this a business? That means you're supposed to make money, right?
Yeah. That's the only benefit is that I can claim that because I do this, naturally like this. Production. So this is part of production. I have this channel. It's making something, but it's a total write-off. It's like,
yours is expensive, man. It's like, I bought a lens. It was like $1,300. It's like, it's like, that's a cheap one. It's not even. That's not even like. So, I think that's the thing is, people. I ask for people to help support on Patreon or members, and I really do truly appreciate it because this stuff adds up. Like, like that's a light, that's a light, that's a light, that's a light. That it's like there's one there, it's like these are all things that there's a camera in front of me. There's, this microphone that I'm talking into, the computer that's all hooked up to, it's like, if I was not making anything, like if I didn't have the support of those guys and gals that are supporting me there, like I would have definitely threw in the towel a long time ago, because it's expensive if you want to make good content, and so it's fortunate that you had a lot of that stuff already, and also for you to already know how to edit too. That's a big learning curve for starting a channel. So I'm sure that definitely helped your channel grow quickly out the gate, because your content is produced better,
Yeah. It's the only challenge is always just how, what is the content going to be, and I never really tried to say, well, I think this is what's going to get more likes or make me more money. And I don't know, maybe I should try to be thinking more of that. I don't really know. It's I feel, I don't know. It's a little weird, but I just create the content that I would want to see, and that's kind of what I've been doing so far. And some of that is just learning from some of the other content creators, other mountain bike content creators. I really appreciate what Ryan from Lone Wolf and Lone Ranger, and even Drew from Lone Wolf, what those guys put out. And they put a lot, I can tell they put a lot of production into their stuff. It's really especially, Ryan from Lone Ranger. I mean, I can tell, I can look at his stuff and say, he's putting a lot of time. He's got some lighting. He's got really good cameras that he's recording with. His sound is really spot on. So I know he's using external mics. And so, I can look at that stuff and really appreciate what they're putting into it. So, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. It usually takes me from filming, I mean, whether it's a ride or whatever, but just from the filming, it takes me a day to go through it all, sift through it, and put some kind of rough cut together. And then I typically sit with it for a little bit. I'll come in the next day and start whittling everything down, and then figuring out what I need for assets. So if it's I need graphics, I need dialogue, I need VO, I need, depending on what type of video it's going to be, put all that stuff together, and then find the music, find what kind of, I'm a big music guy, obviously. So
that takes forever on its own.
Did
I just spend 2 hours looking for a track that I use for 15 seconds of this video? What the hell is going on with my life right now?
Yeah, because you don't want to use the same stuff you used in the last video, and I have a huge library of music. So I have to sort it out. Okay, how long has it been since I've used this? Can I reuse that? And I always try to find new stuff, so I'll go back on, I use Soundstripe. So I'll go back on Soundstripe, find something else. Do they have anything new? What's kind of going on here? Download a few tracks and I test them out. I A/B them. Okay, does this one work better? Does that one work better? So it take, all this stuff. So it's pretty grinding. And so, I'd probably spend, if I did it 8 to 10 hours solid, I'd say I spent at least 3 to 4 days per episode. Some of them are shorter, some of them less time. It just depends how things fall along.
But it depends on the video. I like the one I'm doing right now. I'm going through a bunch of old footage, so it's not like I'm telling the story, and as I'm telling the story, I'm like, oh, I want a drone shot, and I know I did that in 2020, so I can go to that folder and find the drone shot there. Then it's oh, I'm talking about walking through the fest, and the shot that I took this year is not great. So then I'm going through footage from a couple other years. It's okay, yeah, this is a good one here. And it's it's just time consuming. It's time consuming to find that stuff, and then then you place it, and then maybe you're yeah, it didn't work. And
absolutely.
You're oh, great, So, or then it's oh, how do I do this thing that I want to do with Premiere that I've never done before?
Oh yeah.
You know, and then you're like, now you're on YouTube and you're trying to watch some, you know, guy explain it to you. And then next thing you know, some thumbnail comes up for some guy's Bentonville video that you're like, oh, wow, what's that?
Let me watch that. Oh man,
later, oh my God, here I am.
That's so true. Yeah, I was like, I remember one time I'd done this before, but I couldn't remember like exactly how to do it. It was basically a tracking shot because I use DaVinci and so DaVinci Resolve. And so it's so easy to do stuff now, but sometimes it's so easy, you forget how easy it is. Yeah. And so I'm like, I know this was simple. How did I do it? So then you got crap. I got to pull up YouTube and watch a video to remember. And so I'll do that. And then same thing. It's like, oh, wait, this video talks about something new. Ooh, I want to watch that. So you do that. And then you start, and then it's just a rabbit hole. And before you know it, an hour has gone by. And you're like, wait a minute, wasn't I supposed to do something here?
Yeah. Right. Well, and the thing too, with, like, I don't know if it's like with DaVinci, but like with Adobe, sometimes there's like 4 different ways to do the same thing. Yeah. So it's like you're looking for this one video that you know you watched a year ago that told you how to do it again. Yeah. And then you watch some other guys and you're like, oh, okay. Well, I never thought about doing it like that. And then it's like, oh man, it's just a freaking rabbit hole.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I was thinking about the other day because like I started in 2017 basically with this stuff, and I never edited or anything like that. So like I had zero understanding of what I was getting into. And I think I was talking to my wife about this project that I was getting ready to start, and I was like, man, it's just like really cool that like I can like, you know, reach out to these companies and like they can like provide me these products, and I can like have this dream and then I can like make it happen. And it's like I'm not having to go out and buy like this maybe $5,000 worth of stuff, you know, to like make this video that I want to make. And it really made me reflect on like, for some reason, it made me reflect on, well, I'm not the same guy that I was in 2017 making videos. Like what I'm making now is like, there's so much more to it. And there's so much experience that I have. And like, I've put thousands of hours into like learning how to do what I'm doing. But in my mind, I'm still some guy that's just fuddling around in 2017. Like every time I open up Adobe, I'm like, oh, what's this button do? You know, like, but I, you know, it's really easy to kind of like diminish your skill set whenever you're thinking about it. At least, you know, for me, like I don't do this professionally. Well, I guess I do, but I don't consider myself a professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's so easy to do. I mean, it's like, especially when it's not coming together, like something's not coming together right, and you're like, I know I should be able to. This should work. What am I not missing? What's not coming together for this? You know, and so you know, you just kind of, have to kind of work through it, and honestly, like when things starts happening, I back away. Like I've learned this over the years. Like if something's not working, man, don't force it. Just take an hour, come back to it. If it's still not working, come back next day. You know, because I tell you what, I can't remember how many times I've stepped away from stuff trying to figure out how I'm going to make this come together. And I'll be in the shower. I'll wake up in the morning. I'll be, you know, brushing my teeth, whatever. And all of a sudden light bulb. Yeah. Oh, that's how I can do it. And I'll come back up. And it's like bam, 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 and it just flows together.
I usually get that aha moment like 6 months after I release the video, and I'm watching it again, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, I should have freaking cut that. I should have freaking did some color grading. What the hell? No.
Yeah, that always. Oh gosh, I can't. Some of the stuff that I watch of my old stuff, I'm like, oh gosh, why did I even include that? That's boring. Or you know, I just rambled on for like 2 minutes for no reason. Or
it's easy to do, you know, like you're telling your own story in your head, and like sometimes I'll be typing out what I want to voice over, right? And when you type it, like if somebody was reading what I'm saying, it's a really good flow of information, you know, and but then when you start putting that to video and you start thinking about how this works with like YouTube and people's attention span and stuff like that, you're like, that extra little bit that I added in there,
yeah,
that needs to go. That like really doesn't add anything to what I'm explaining. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people, when they first start, that's the hardest thing to learn is like, what do you cut?
Yeah.
You know, I remember like cutting everything where when I was first starting, where I was just like, oh yeah, you just got to get it. You got to cut everything, you know? And I just remember like, I wouldn't have any pauses in between one sentence and the other because I was just trying to like cut time. And, you know, over time, you realize that sometimes those natural pauses are actually like just as powerful as somebody saying something, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. It's, you know, in storytelling, it's kind of the same thing. You know, one thing you learn when you're a screenwriter is like, if, you know, when you're writing out your script is that, you know, if it doesn't move the hero forward, whatever the scene is, if it doesn't move the hero's journey forward, like you don't need it. Like if it doesn't provide any information, it doesn't move the hero. If it doesn't do anything to progress the story along, cut it. And that's one of the hardest things to think about, because even as a content creator like us, you know, there's a hero in this. It could be us. It could be maybe it's someone else we're talking about, or, you know, whatever it is, there's a hero in this story. And so you have to kind of think, what I'm saying, is that progressing the whole story forward? Am I getting to a resolution? If this is not getting to the resolution, you know, at all, if it's stagnant or it's holding it back, then cut it. And so I think that's the hard thing about learning this. And it's something I have to remember. Like, I don't always follow my own rule, but I mean, even though I know
there's a difference between like film and YouTube, or, you know, some other video formats. Like, you have the ability that somebody has committed to watch your, let's say, show or your movie. So like you could have like 15 minutes of boring that's like story building, and people will sit there and watch it because they're like, hey, I've already decided I'm watching this thing. And it has to be really bad for them to be like, all right, I'm out, you know? So like, but like with YouTube, you don't have that. You don't get that ability. Even it's like your favorite fan, the whole time they're watching it, there's other shit on the screen saying, hey, you don't need to watch this. You know, it's like, click me over here. You know, and it's like anytime that your mind just like slightly drifts, it's so easy to be like, and swipe, you know, like, so it's definitely a different kind of storytelling that it's hard to, it's a delicate process, you know, to figure out. And
it's all.
I don't have it down. I mean, no, he's probably the only one that's got it, right?
But I mean, if it's a different format, it's a different, I guess I should say it's a different way of presentation. But the concept is still the same. The format's different because, like you said, you're competing against so many others. You know, it's not like films where it's like, you're right, you commit to it, but still the difference is that if I have 15 minutes of just pure visuals, you know, let's set Terrence Malick aside because his films are basically that. But generally, in general films, that 15 minutes, I'll lose the audience. Even though they might finish the film, I'm going to lose them. And they're going to walk out of there going, that was boring. Why did I just sit through that? Even though stuff after it happens. So it's still important. You still don't have, you know, it's like I said, except for art films, most films, you don't have that luxury. You still need to progress forward. The YouTube format is different. It's quicker. You don't have 90 minutes to tell a story. You have 9 minutes, if that. So everything just happened. It's still the same concept. It's just everything has to happen in a quicker pace. But it's still the same concept. Is this needed? If I'm going to what I'm going to say here is going to take it away from the point I'm trying to make. If it takes it away, then I'm just going to cut it, even though it's 3 seconds or 15 seconds. I'm going to cut it. So
I had this clip in of Mo Awesome from Awesome MTB.
Yeah.
And it just was really funny. It was like I really caught him kind of like off guard a little bit. And this is like this funny little interaction that we had. And I was using it as kind of like a little filler. And then it made me laugh every time I watched it, and as you're editing, you might watch something a handful of times. But at a certain point, I was like, that actually doesn't add to this at all. Like, it's really funny for it to be there. But it's not really doing anything. And it's like, it's like, what do they call that in editing? It's like kill your babies or something like that. Like, some kind of name for that, where it's like things that like, just because you like them, like, doesn't mean that you should keep them,
Well, you just, what we say is that you don't want to be married. Don't be married to your scene.
Yeah.
Don't be married to your film, really, because you gotta, it's going to end up on the cutting room floor. So, I mean, don't be afraid to do that. And it's a hard decision. It's hard for lots of things. I've been I've been a part of films where it's like, I don't want to edit that out. It's a great scene. It took a lot of time to set that scene up. It took a lot of time to shoot that. But at the end, you have to go, does it move it forward? Does it add, to the story? There's obviously there's things where it's like, especially on YouTube, you want comedic elements. You want certain things to happen. But overall, again, it has to add to the story. It has to add to what if it's a fun, playful type of video, then you want those little comedic moments, little inserts and things like that. Definitely don't, but again, it's still got to be progressing forward to get to the point that you want your audience to finally receive. Like, what's the point I'm trying to make here? What do I want my audience to walk away with? And it's this point, it's this information, it's, those things. And that's something I've had a hard time trying to figure out, because it's like, what do I want my audience to walk away from? I don't want it to just be, hey, this is where I'm riding today. Like, what do I want them to learn? Like, is this trail something that they want to ride? Is this something that, is going to be difficult or easy? Is it something that's going to be fun? Are you coming to this location? Is this a trail you're going to want to ride? Whatever that is. Or is this a product that you're going to want to try or something like that? I don't do a ton of product reviews. Just it's so hard. I haven't figured out that.
It just doesn't make me excited.
I don't know. I haven't figured out, like, what am I doing that for? I guess. I don't know.
I don't like to do product reviews. I like to think about things more like product placement kind of things. Like, I can talk about something as I'm using it and I'm doing something with it, and that to me, I think is valuable and it's like more genuine. I don't have really the patience to just film something for a review, like the way that some people do. They do an amazing job. And I just like, it doesn't get me excited. And then what I end up doing is I take 1,000 hours of B-roll of some product because I get way in my head, and then I'm like, I don't want to do this. And then so it's it's just not worth it. So when you started out, you said you were kind of just bumbling around, just doing something for fun. You didn't really care. Do you have an end state, a goal that you have with your channel now? Because I mean, at this point, it's caught on. You got over 7,000 subscribers, so it's a thing.
When I hit, I mean, I was like, I couldn't believe it when I hit 5,000 that people still. I was like, wow, people really want to see this stuff. I have an end goal. Well, how should I put this? There's a lot more I want to do. I don't know if it'll be a part of this channel, because I'm not really sure. It's more of long form stuff like I want to do. This is where my long form producer, director, mind comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think it really relates to more adventure travel stuff, more destination stuff I kind of want to do. But again, I don't want to just do it because I'm riding there. Like I want to create. What I found, a lot of the feedback that I get when I go to these different places is mainly like, what else is there to do there? Like that's a lot of stuff. Like, oh, I want to go there, but where do you stay? Or, hey, what else is there to do? Are there other trail systems in that area? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of that. And so, I kind of what I want to do more is kind of explore those questions and really go to destination places and start talking about, because I feel like that's the one thing I've left out. Like when I went to Utah, I didn't talk about anything else other than where I rode. I didn't talk about, not really where we stayed, but it's like just what else you can do there. Like, why is coming to Utah a good thing to do? Why? So my storyteller brain kind of kicks in, and so I thinking about what I enjoy, what I think other people would like, especially in my target audience. Just because I get so many questions about those things, I kind of want to start introducing more of those types of elements that encompasses more of when I go to these places. This is the entire experience. And I know some, like even Seth did that when he went to Bentonville. He kind of, explored different places and talked about different things to do there and how you can bring your family along and those type things. And I'm seeing, especially at Brian, from BKXC, Brian Kennedy, he does a lot of that when he goes on his trips. He'll talk about, hey, we grabbed food from this area and blah, blah, blah. So there's different, some of the other content creators are kind of doing stuff like that. So, and that's what I enjoy. That's what I really love. And that's what I appreciate about those guys doing that type of content, is that it it's like, I want people when they watch these videos, like they get a feel of being there. And that's kind of the travel nerd in me. I used to watch, so before my wife and I went to Italy, when we first got married, we went to Italy, but we watched, like PBS, Rick Steves, Europe Travel. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No. Yeah.
So he's just, if you're not familiar, he's just like kind of a geeky guy that goes to all places in Europe and tells you like, these are the places to go when you travel here.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so nerd out, but I love it. Like, it's like, so when we went to Italy, like we show up and we're at these places, these museums and these sites. I'm like, holy crap, it looks exactly like he said. Right. I'm experiencing it just like he showed it.
Yeah.
It's right here in front of me. Like, this is amazing, you know? And so it kind of, that's what I kind of enjoy. And that's kind of what I like when people, watch these videos of these places to ride. I want them to have that complete experience. So,
right on, man.
So
good stuff.
Yeah.
A while ago, we were talking about your bike journey and how you went from the Schwinn to the short travel to the full on LaSalle Peak.
Yep.
And then I saw in some of your videos you have an e-bike. How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
your doctor was like, you're fit enough. You can get an e-bike now.
Well, I wanted to do more. I mean, I just, I kind of, going to certain places and it's like only able to ride half the trails there, or, I wanted to be able to, whenever I come to these places, because a lot of things, like I said, I travel to Chattanooga a lot, and that's like 2 hours away. It's can easily just, it's a day trip,
Yeah.
But when you go down there, it's like, I want to maximize my time.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to ride a lot more than I can just on a regular bike.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have 20 years of experience, and endurance to be able to do that. So, I just wanted to do more. And so I got an e-bike. I got my first e-bike at the beginning of 22. I think it was actually the end of 21. I got the Fazari Wire Peak. Loved it.
Shorter travel e-bike.
That's their shorter travel. It's a 160, 140.
Mm-hmm.
But I took that thing everywhere. It was the only e-bike they had at the time. And so that bike just took me places that I just normally just wouldn't go or couldn't go, and loved it. And then they came out with the Tent Peak last year. Mm-hmm. And so when I was able to finally get that one, that's even better because it's more their enduro. And since I ride more aggressive anyway, it's basically the LaSalle Peak with a motor. And so I was like, I love the LaSalle Peak. It's perfect for me. I love its characteristics. I love the kinematics. And when I got on the Tent Peak, I was like, it literally was the same thing, just with more power. So I love that thing. I literally got it right before our Bentonville trip. Literally shipped it to me. They shipped the battery because they can't ship the battery with the in the bike.
Oh, really? That's weird.
And they couldn't overnight it or a 2-day air it because I had them 2-day air the bike so I could get here in time for me to build it up and before we left for Bentonville. So they said we can't ship you. We can't 2-day the battery. It has to go ground. I said, okay, then ship it to Bentonville. So I had them ship it to Bentonville. So I literally didn't get to test ride the bike until I got to Bentonville.
Oh, wow.
So I was trusting that this was going to work. So I didn't even turn it on. Nothing. Didn't be able to do anything until we got to Bentonville. So anyway, Bentonville was the first time I was able to ride the bike, and it was flawless. I mean, it was amazing. So love it. Love that bike. And
I'm getting ready to get one of those the Tent Peaks, and kind of excited about it. I think you said on your video though that you can't mullet that bike.
You can mullet it. They didn't recommend it just because the way the kinematics were. Now some people do.
Because I have my LaSalle mullet, right, and I really like it that way. Like, I will say hands down, it's definitely faster as a 29er. Like it's 100% faster, but it's just to me more fun as a mullet. I just love the way it like whips around and stuff. So I was planning on mulleting the Temp. So when you said that, I was like, oh, is that like not allowed or like?
No, you can. They just said the thing you're going to run into is just that bottom bracket. Even though you can flip the chip, the bottom bracket is still going to be pretty low. So you just so climbing and stuff like that with it, it's just you might have more pedal strikes and things like that. So, and I guess if you could lock out the shock, you could have a more stiff. That might help eliminate it. But when I rode it in Bentonville, and I did pretty much a lot of stuff. I even took it to Howler Bike Park when we were there. I just didn't see the need. That thing was so playful, so fun.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't want a slower climb. So, I didn't see a need to, but I like on my LaSalle, like when I go to bike parks with it, like I will mullet it. Like I put a 27.5 on the rear because I'm only going to go down. So I'm not going to climb with it. So it doesn't really matter. So,
I broke my rear wheel. That was the mullet wheel on mine. So while I was waiting for that to get fixed, I was riding full 29er for a while. So, I was like fully used to how it was riding that way. And right before I went to Sedona this spring, I actually swapped the tire or the wheel back. So when I got to Sedona, it was the first time I've ridden it as a mullet again in like months, for whatever reason. It took a while, right? And so it was super, super apparent to me, like the way that it turned and stuff. I was like, oh my God. Like if I switch back and forth, like week to week, I won't notice it as much, but because it was like such a long stretch, I was like, man, this thing is just like, oh my God, it's so fun. Plus, I probably it's realistically, it's probably just the trails in Sedona are super fun, but
yeah. I love to get out there. Everybody, like I've got friends out in Arizona, some of the other RA ambassadors, and they're like, hey man, you coming to the fest this year? And I'm like, even Ari will like, they wanted to let me try out the Nebo Peak in Sedona. And I was like, man, I'm not, I can't do it. Like I can't, it's an expense. So it's just so, it's like I said, if I was in California or something like that, that's probably a little bit easier, more manageable trip, but it's literally cross country. So, but yeah, I mean, like when I ride my LaSalle Peak here, like just my local trails, like I actually leave it in the flip chip in the upper position for the mullet. But I'll put my 29er up on it because what that does is it steepen it a little bit. And because my local trails are not that aggressive around here.
That's actually how I was riding it as a 29er. I never flipped the chip.
Oh, you never flipped it? Yeah.
No,
yeah. It rides really well, like in my local trails, because it's just up and down. Most of it's just up and down. A lot of XC to aggressive XC. There are some flow trails, but I just leave the chip the way it is. And then, if I want to go to like Rock Creek, or Windrock, I'll just throw the 27.5 on and just leave it. Like I don't even touch it, so, and it works well. So yeah, it's such a great all around bike. Like it's hard to believe it's such a long travel.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I used to be a diehard Santa Cruz guy. And when I did the video on the LaSalle, I fully expected to do the video and sell the frame and buy another Santa Cruz. And the bike really just truly surprised me. Like really, really did. And, I'm now here. That's what I'm riding, so it's kind of crazy. It really, I like what they're doing, so far. So everything that I've ridden, I've been super excited about. So it's great. They're definitely doing a lot of innovation right now. And it seems like they're trying to become a much bigger player in the market. So it'll be cool to see where they go in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, a bike company that is expanding their lineup instead of cutting back is pretty bold and aggressive. Like that's, they're launching 9 new bikes this year. They've already announced several of them already.
Yeah,
it's like that's insane. So I mean, they're definitely positioning themselves to like you said, be a major player, and I think like. I have to be honest and say I don't ride any other bikes. Like I don't know how to compare it to. I never bought another bike. I've ridden some people's other bikes, of course, but their setup is different than what I'm going to ride, so it's really hard to judge.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just like I just don't need it. I don't know. I mean, if someone gave me another bike and I could set it up and try it, maybe, but. Like your testimony is what I hear from a lot of people. They come from another manufacturer, Trek, Specialized, Santa Cruz, some big players in the bike industry. They ride a Ari. Still not used to the name change. But they ride an Ari and just like, it's that much better, So so I'm excited. Excited about, what they're doing. They got a great race team this year on the enduro circuit. Nick Nesteroff, he's great. And a couple others, even, some downhill racers. I think even Nick is racing some downhill runs. So, I mean, I think if they keep expanding, I would expect them very shortly, even having maybe some racers in UCI pretty soon. So I think that's their next step. So
out of all the places that you've seen on YouTube, people riding, if you could go to any one of them like this summer for a trip, where would you go?
Okay, I would love to ride Tutti Frutti in Italy.
Yeah.
That if I could go anywhere right now in the world, I would go ride that trail.
Did you see like Brian do that or something? Or
I know I've just seen so many videos of people riding it, and I'm just like, this looks amazing. I mean, the view, the trail. I know the view, the magnificent view is really at the top. You know, that's really where something. Even the trail itself. You know, as you get through it, it just looks like a fun trail to ride. I know it's not easy, but it just looks like an amazing trail to ride. I know it's part of one of the trails on the enduro circuit, but
I'll have to look that one up. I'm not familiar with that one at all.
Yeah, just look up.
Italy is it in? Like southern?
It's in northern Italy. It's near the Dolomites.
Oh, okay,
it might be actually in the Dolomites, if I'm not mistaken.
So it's up there in elevation. Then it's like,
yeah. I don't know if they shuttle it or if you have to climb. I don't know, but it's a long trail. It's huge elevation drop. But that, if I could choose anything, I would do that. I would love to go to Whistler. I know there's so much to Whistler and Squamish and all that stuff. I wouldn't know what the thing is. I wouldn't know what to do. Like I'm not an A-line rider. Like no way. I mean, it's just, you know, I'm not used to the speed.
Yeah.
But you know, the speed you need to clear that stuff, and that's something I'm trying to work up to, is getting used to speed when you hit jumps. First, I need to get confident in jumping, and then I need to get used to the speed and hitting jumps, you know, so I don't dead sailor, or, you know, I need confidence, you know, to be in the air. But I'm not going to be an A-line rider. So, and I know there's tons of other trails. So I wouldn't know what to do. I guess that'd be
I'm really curious to see what my experience is. I honestly, there's a big bike park by us up in the mountains here in California that a lot of people go to, and I usually only go once a year, and every year I go, I'm like, I don't really like, I understand why people like park, but it's not my thing. And but I really want to go check out Whistler. You know, it's like, it's one of those like epic places that's all over the, you know, all over the internet. And so it's like, and I hear other people say, you know, it's not just jumps and flow and whatever, it's like all kinds of shit. And so I'm sure it's going to be a good time. I'm curious to see like what my take is, you know, because I'm not like, I get more excited about going on some like kind of crazy adventure ride than I am about going up there and riding park for a week, you know? I'm really, I'm curious to see how it all shakes out. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to have a good time. I mean, it's just, like, how can you not like,
how can you not?
You know, right?
Exactly. How can you not have fun at Whistler?
Right.
If you, I'm like you. It's like, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't like, I would need to go with someone that's been there. Because I'm kind of like you. Like I like flow jump trails, but that's not my bread and butter. I mean, that's not what I really enjoy. I like the downhill tech.
I do too. But the thing is like the tech that I see that people do in that fucking park is like insane too. So I'm like, am I just going to go up there and just tuck my tail between my legs and be like, okay, well, green runs for me, you know?
I mean, it can be like that. Yeah. I mean, hopefully they have trails that you can work up to. I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
I'll do a lot of progression while I'm there. I mean, that's the one thing that I always recognize whenever I do go to the local bike park. It's like, and it's just like, I can see if I did this trail, you know, 10 times in a row today, like I would definitely like level up on my jumping or maybe my cornering or whatever. And so I think it'd be really cool to see like what I learned from Whistler and what I bring home from it. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, maybe that's my story. Cause I've been trying to think about like, what is the content that I'm going to make from this? And there's like a gazillion guys that create stuff at Whistler, and most of them are way better than me. So like, it's not like I'm going to make some like awesome shredded video that people are going to be like, dude, did you see Biker? You know, they're going to be like, dude, did you see that guy, fat guy bumbling down the hill? You know, like, so,
yeah.
So,
yeah, it's hard because like, you know, like when I went to Utah, we went to Deer Valley, and I had a blast at Deer Valley. Like I loved it. The only thing is like I didn't ride a lot more than once. There was only a few trails I rode again.
Right.
So like a lot of the footage is me kind of that, like bumbling down it, like trying to figure it out. I mean, some of that stuff was really steep and really technical, and I'm like just inching, good, you know, barely creeping along, and it's hard. It's hard because it's like, well, I don't want to spend all day, you know, trying to master this one trail and I only have one day here. You know, this is
and you're also trying to like not only make a video, you're more so trying to have a good time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and whatever gets captured. Because honestly, if you wanted to make a good video, you would film that same trail, you doing it 15 times from 15 different angles and all of it. And then it would be like, yeah, by the last run, you'd be just smashing through everything.
Smash and grab,
yeah, you know, but yeah, like you said, you went all the way there. You got one day. It's going to be a shit show, you know. Like that's the bottom line. You know?
Yeah. But and that's kind of the thing is like, you know, well, sometimes it's like, well, this is if you're like me, if you're about the skill level as I am, then this is what your firsthand experience is going to be. You know, it's like it's not something you're going to smash and grab the first time through. You know, this is technical. This is difficult. It's steep. So just know that going in. And so, you know, if anything else, that's kind of the story. You know, and most of this destination stuff is like that. It's like this is my first time here. This is a preview of what these trails are like. And I'm not gonna smash and grab. It's just, you know, me getting through it. So, but you know, there are other chances, you know, like I've been to Canoga several times. I've been to Jared's, you know, place several times. I've, you know, been to Rock Creek once, you know, but Rock Creek was great because there's not a lot of trails, but they're all a lot of fun, you know? So I could do Tumbleweed like 5 or 6 times. I could do, you know, some of the other ones like over and over and over, you know, because you have that chance. And then the footage looks a little bit better. You know, you film, you know, your 4th or 5th run, you know, and that's the one you use. And, you know, but, you know, it's still like, this is the experience, you know, that's what I always try to capture when I do go to these places, at least for the first time, you know? So, then the story changes when I go back, you know, or if I go to Jared's again, it's like, well, the story's going to be different. This is not a first time here. This might be, hey, I'm wanting to learn or progress on these features. And so I'm going to take you along and see how I do it, you know, blah, blah, blah. So,
maybe just sit on that footage from the first time and then you use it on the second one, you know? And
I've done that.
We're just about at 2 hours here, man. I
really? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it goes by quick, man. Every time I pitch this show to some people and they're like, "Oh, 2 hours," I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, everybody is always surprised. But I like to ask people before we get off, what YouTube channels do you like to watch? Whether it's mountain biking or not mountain biking, what do you like watching on YouTube?
Oh man. Man, it's a splatter of things. I mean, I love Bobo. I mean,
he's hilarious.
I love him. We've been talking about doing a video together forever. Hopefully we can do one soon, but I love his stuff. Love Brian's stuff, love Seth's stuff. Ryan from Lone Ranger, Lone Wolf. So, I mean, those guys are the biking videos. I also watch, you know, GMBN, but you know, I'm a big, like, when I get into the techie stuff of side of things, like, you know, sometimes I'm watching, you know, stuff like camera stuff. I don't know all the names of these guys that do it, but sometimes I get nerded
out a lot. I like,
Peter. Peter, I'll watch a lot. His stuff's really entertaining. So I'll watch.
Ryan has a like a kind of techie channel too. It's called
Yeah. Yeah. I subscribe to that. I don't know how much they're doing on that, but yeah, his reviews of stuff like that's really good. So yeah, I nerd out on the tech side of stuff, filming, and we'll watch some of those channels. So that's fun. Yeah.
Sweet, dude.
Yeah.
Well, right on, man. I really appreciate you hanging out with me for the last 2 hours and talking about what's going on. And
it's been fun. It's been great.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And if you decide to go to Sedona next year, every year I say I'm not going back, but if you decide to go, let me know, because more than likely I'm probably going. So
yeah, one of these times I'm going to get out there and do it, because I love that area.
Sometimes if you go out, like we usually get a house or something like that. So it's like if you do it with a group of people, then it's not as expensive, at least for like where you're staying. So then and you don't have to buy a ticket to get in. So it could just be your flight out there and whatever. I don't know how much you like to drink. So that's the part that it gets expensive. It's like a cruise, right?
Yeah, that can mount up quite easily. So
there you go. Right. Well, anyways, I appreciate the time, and any of you that haven't checked out his channel, MidLife Shredder, there's a link to it and show more. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast, it's in the show notes down there. Just click the link, swing over there, give him a subscribe, because even though those subscriber numbers don't mean a lot to the algorithm nowadays, they mean a lot to us. And just seeing that number grow every day or every week or month or whatever, it really feels good. So do that. And if you're watching this one here for the first time, maybe hit subscribe here, or thumbs up to me as well. It's good to see those numbers, man. It just makes us feel good. So take the second to do it. That'd be great. And like I said at the beginning of the show, thinking about a new bike, we spent a lot of time talking about Ari. Go swing by, check them out. And any other sponsors of the show, Tasco, MTB, Cali, check them out. Honestly, like, I really stand behind every one of these companies that I'm getting supported by, because most of them I've reached out to from my side to make it happen, because I don't want to support something that I don't truly believe in. So if you guys want something for free, though, check this out. It only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one.